Before we dive in, I wanted to take a moment to thank this season's presenting sponsor, ShopMy. ShopMy is a platform that connects designers, tastemakers, and creators with shoppers who trust their style and recommendations. With ShopMy, you can discover and shop the pieces experts actually use and love in their own homes, all in one beautifully curated place. And now, shopping is even easier with the launch of the new ShopMy app. Create circles with your favorite curators like myself or today's guest, discover new products tailored to your taste, and save everything you love with wish lists and Snapshot right in the app. Download the new ShopMy app at the link in the show notes. And now, on to this week's episode.
My grandmother used to always say every room needs a little bit of red. And I don't take it literally to mean red, although sometimes I do use red. I take it more to mean every room needs a little bit of drama, a little bit of flair. And when you try to make a room 100% serene or something like that, you really lose something.
An extra layer.
Yeah, and you make it almost impossible to live there through different seasons of life in terms of like people will need to add something to a space over time.
Welcome to Talk Shop. I'm Ariel Okin, a New York-based interior designer, writer, and editor, looking to bring a little bit of magic into our homes every day. After years as a writer and editor in the interiors world, I founded my own editorial site, Fenimore Lane, in 2020, and the Talk Shop interview series was born. Each week, I delve into the personal experiences of the top interior designers and tastemakers around the globe. This week, I'm joined by my friend, the talented designer Lilse McKenna. Lilse is known for creating homes that feel timeless, personal, and truly livable. Spaces rooted in tradition, but thoughtfully tailored to how her clients actually live. After training under Lindsey Harper and Markham, she launched her own firm in 2017 and has since built a beautiful practice spanning the East Coast and abroad. Her work has been recognized by House Beautiful as part of their Next Wave list, as well as featured in publications like the Wall Street Journal, Lux, and Domino. But what I love most about Lilse's work and about her is the care and intention that she brings to every detail, always rooted in a desire for her projects to feel personal and bespoke. So please join me as I welcome Lilse McKenna to the podcast. Lilse, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. This is so fun.
Oh my God, I'm so jazzed that you're on today. To kick off the conversation, we ask everyone who comes on, can you describe your style in 3 words or less?
I think that my style, when I'm designing for myself and for other people, is really layered. It's really personal and it's really thoughtful. I'm really obsessed with people's houses actually looking like them.
I mean, it's so sad when you go into someone's house and it's like just plain beige and you get no information.
Yeah.
Understand who they are. I feel like it's like such a reflection of someone when you walk in and you're like, oh, this really feels like them.
Yeah, ideally you can tell a lot about a person when you walk into their house.
Totally. And for those listening, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are at this point in your life right now.
So right now, I'm physically in my office in New Canaan. I have a small design firm. It's just a few of us. And we have an office in town in New Canaan. One of my employees is in New York. And we have projects sort of all over, mostly like East Coast of the States. We've had some, out of the country, some in different parts of the country. Right now, they're mostly focused on the East Coast. And I have 2 little boys, ages 5 and 6.
So cute. Well, for those listening, Lilse and I have been friends for a while, and she is so crazy talented. Every time I see something new that you have done, my mind explodes.
Thank you.
I mean it. And I'm just so happy that you're on today, and you have such an interesting path to design. Like, you didn't think that was going to be your career, which is similar to me, which I love. And you trained under some of the most incredible names in residential design. And so I just want to start a little bit with how you found your way into the design world. Like, what first drew you to interior design?
It's so funny. I was reading that question this morning and I was like, oh, what did first draw me to interior design? I feel like it was always sort of part of my life. I had a wonderful grandmother who was really into interior design. She read every shelter magazine cover to cover every month. She owned all of the design books. As soon as they came out, she bought them. And she did an amazing job decorating her own houses. She didn't have a firm, but she would help friends sort of for free. So anyway, she was really into design. And so I think it was sort of a constant conversation in my family's houses and about their houses.
Yeah.
So my whole life, it was not unusual to all be sitting around debating the proportions of a chair. So it's so funny to think, like, when did you get into interior design? Because when I really step back and think about that, that's not normal. I don't think I ever really thought that there was an option to be into it. It was sort of like brushing your hair. Like, you don't really think about it when it's all around you like that.
Yeah, totally. You grew up with it.
Yeah, so I feel like I really grew up with it. I didn't really know that it was a viable career option for me until much later, though. And I sort of assumed that everybody was worried about the proportions of chairs for most of my life.
We all think this way, right?
Right.
I remember you saying you're going to go to law school, right?
Yes, I thought I was going to go to law school. And when I really decided I was going to go into interior design was when I was studying for the LSATs my senior year in college. And they recommended that you take a break from tests. You take a study test, a practice test, and then you should take a break and you should do something that has nothing to do with studying for the LSATs. So I had like a stack of shelter magazines, House Beautifuls and Architectural Digests. And it sort of dawned on me through that process that I was the only person in my little off-campus house that had a stack of those magazines or had like really put a lot of energy and effort into decorating my room.
I was like that too. I didn't realize that it was a viable career option either, and I ended up going to grad school for something else, but like my relaxation time and decompression time was all reading shelter magazines, looking at Pinterest. I went to school in DC and I would like go to like the antique shops in Georgetown, like just to like relax.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you don't realize that like the thing that you love that lights you up, that's relaxing, can actually be your career.
Totally. I just thought that there was sort of this other world for people that could do this as a career. And, I thought that I needed to have like a quote unquote real job before I did this. But it didn't end up turning out that way. I kind of really quickly was like, am I going to pay for law school or am I going to just try my hand at this other industry that is clearly making enough money to produce these magazines at the very least?
Yeah. And also it takes a lot of courage to make that decision, and how amazing that you did, because it shaped your whole early career.
You too, right? It's such an interesting...
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your early career, because you worked for Lindsey Harper and Markham Roberts. How did your early career with them shape your understanding of taste and craftsmanship? Because so much of what you do is, your interiors are so layered and so bespoke, and like so many true artisans that you bring in to do everything from, murals to stencils on the floor to, it runs the gamut.
Yeah, I'm so lucky to work with so many talented artisans. What I really learned from Lindsey and Markham, I think, was a lot about taste, but some of that I feel like is kind of like innate to the people that end up working for designers, but more was so much to learn about execution. Like, I think when I started with Lindsey, I had never specified anything custom of my own. I had sort of helped my grandmother, get a sofa made or something like that. But I had never really had to be in the weeds on the full execution. And I really had no idea what went into like a pillow.
And how many steps and questions and Yeah.
And how many different hands, how many different vendors are involved in that. I think people who don't do this for a living really don't understand that. And I certainly didn't before I started. I remember making spreadsheets for Lindsey's projects and just being sort of baffled at the beginning by how many different vendors, truly different hands, had to contribute to a single house.
Yeah.
So that I learned a lot about that for sure.
So true. And you don't really think about it when you're looking at a picture. If you're looking at a magazine, you're looking at a picture on Instagram, you don't realize how many individual people and hands, and not just at the firm that did it, but like all of their vendors and sub vendors. And, it's a whole ecosystem that makes these homes even possible.
Completely. And I really didn't know until I started how many things could go wrong in that process in terms of like,
same.
You don't know until you have to produce a room or a home that truly nothing exists until you see it.
Yeah.
And that if you don't have a tracking number for something, even if you do have a tracking number for something, but if you don't, it truly has not been purchased. Like it does not exist. And that was a huge learning curve. I mean, I picked it up, I think, in pretty good time, but I did not know this. Normally when you're ordering things as just a retail consumer, you order something and it shows up, especially today. Even if something designer, you want something from Net-a-Porter, like it could be there this afternoon if you live in Manhattan. It was so different with interior design and sort of B2B, like the way that all of this gets purchased.
Yeah, it's so antiquated. I feel like we like Harry Potter. Like we literally live in the Harry Potter world.
And when I first started, we were sending faxes. I mean, that's wild. I'm not that old.
No, like the same age. That's crazy. I mean, I think so many of the trade vendors, they're starting to get with it, but some of them still, I wouldn't be surprised if they still use faxes now.
Some of them do, and I feel like it's sort of this funny catch-22 where now if you've been in the industry long enough, you're almost like a little skeptical of someone whose technology is too good.
Yeah.
Like, where are you producing this?
Who are you?
Who are you? Feels like you've never had a fax machine.
I know. My biggest mistake and regret is that I didn't work at a firm before I went out on my own because I was like doing home polish. So it kind of like threw me into the fire. And I feel like you learn so much by being under someone. And you had such great teachers. And also Markham, talk about an incredible education being somewhere.
Totally. I was so lucky to work for Markham. So lucky. His attention to detail and just his understanding of juxtaposition and scale. He's really talented.
Yeah. So when you went out on your own, what did that look like? And how did those experiences with Lindsey and Markham influence your design instincts and also how you set up your business when you first left?
The way that it happened was that I got a random call from a family friend to help them with a house. So I did not see it coming. I was loving my job at Markham Roberts, but I always had this idea that I was going to have my own firm eventually, and I realized I couldn't successfully do this project and keep doing my job at the level I was doing it for Markham. Yeah. So I really had to make a game time decision there. And I would say that everything I did, for that first project was completely influenced by both of them, because everything I'd ever learned about business structure and sort of how you get this done, what software you use, all of those things, I was lucky to learn in their offices. So I wouldn't have even known my bookkeeper if I hadn't worked for them. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So I think I always had my own taste, which is good. It was definitely influenced by both of them, but I had an instinct when I went to work for this first client. So I was following my instinct instead of, some kind of pattern I had learned from them.
Yeah.
No, but I think that the business structure part of it and sort of, how you handle all of the issues that arise, because they arise for everybody. It doesn't matter if you ever worked for someone or didn't work for them, but if you have worked for someone, then you know that they arise for everybody, which is a little bit of a leg up. I think those were the things I took with me from their offices into those first projects.
What was that first project like? Like, were there any lessons from that kind of like stayed with you?
Well, actually, it was such a cool project because it was a house that my family friends, one of my dad's good friends, had bought in Maine, and it had been decorated by Bunny Williams for the previous owners, and they had purchased it furnished. So it was a home that I had already seen. I've always been a design nerd, so I owned the book that the house was in. I owned the book about the house, and so they had originally called someone else who had done another project for them, and that designer told them that they needed to sort of rip out a bunch of what Bunny had done, and the clients rightly assumed that I would not say that. Yeah. And so I was really into preserving this sort of what felt like design history to me because it was in a book. Yeah. And also I thought it had been really well executed. It was beautiful already. So I didn't see any point in changing anything that didn't need to be changed. So I really got so lucky that I inherited a house with good bones, with great, sort of great backdrop for redoing a few rooms that needed to be completely redone because they were using them totally differently, and just adding a little bit of their imprint on the other spaces so that it didn't feel exactly like the photographs we'd all already seen.
That's so amazing. I mean, talk about a fun first project where you're like working with an iconic house. That's incredible.
It was incredible. It was only tricky in that sometimes I'd be like, I can't actually shoot I can only shoot the rooms, I can only take pictures of the rooms that I really fully did, because I don't want to pretend, I'm not going to take credit for anything that I didn't do, right? And
I'm sure there was a little trepidation too about oh my God, I'm afraid to touch this. I would have been
I feel like I could see, again, I feel like I really was lucky that I had this instinct for I'm not going to touch that, because we're not going to do better than that by this house. Yeah. But I know that this needs to be adjusted for these people, because I know their style from knowing them, and I know, I can see
how they're going to use it is different.
Right. If we make this little adjustment, it'll feel more like home to them and less like somebody else's Bunny Williams house.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. What did you find were the biggest challenges in those early years? Because you started in 2017, so I started in 16, so we're basically the same years, and those early years were just growing pains and hiring a first person and trying to figure out, how to run your firm. What did you think the biggest challenges were in those early beginning days?
I found the hardest thing was that I was so used to working for full service design firms that I was sort of full service or bust. So that can be difficult when a client is really just looking for a consultant or something like that. You mentioned how bespoke my projects are. Sometimes it's hard for me to consult with somebody in a way that's not going to end up with a custom sofa, because I'm so used to customizing things to fit the space or whatever it is. So I think that as a really young designer is a tricky terrain to navigate.
Yeah, totally.
I'm basically, I know how to do your full house custom and, put a bow on it. It's going to be really tricky for me to find you an end table.
Yeah, because when you are so used to doing the whole story and at once to pare it all the way back to help somebody with two tiny things, it's not the same experience from the designer's perspective.
Right, and it might not always be the thing that you think you should be solving for in the space. So somebody might hire you for one thing, and you might be like, none of this is going to help. You actually really need a whole new scheme. So I think that was probably my biggest growing pain, was how do I negotiate this sort of I look really young, and I am really young, but
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm going to be way better at doing your whole house. Or we're going to end up doing your whole house.
That's amazing. Do you think your design voice evolved as you were on your own and as you've been doing it now for almost a decade? How did it change over the years?
It's so funny. I think for my own spaces, when I think about my design voice, I really do try to design for my clients, for better or worse. I don't know that I've built sort of a brand where you can look at a room and say, oh, that's by Lilse. I more feel like I'm really reflecting the clients.
I can tell when it's you because it's just so gorgeously layered and fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
I always know it's you.
Thank you. But no, I think for my own home, my voice has changed a little bit. I think I was more into a softer color palette when I first started, and it's sort of gotten bolder over time. But I always was willing to play with color for other people's homes, especially, if they really loved color. But I think that's probably how my design voice has shifted a little bit. And yeah, I probably always really was using all the layers, though. So to me, the layers are so important because it allows the person to change their mind.
Yeah.
Bunch of layers, then the house can evolve with people over time. You can say, okay, now I'm not really into those pillows, and we'll switch them out with something else. And it still works because there's enough going on in the room to absorb that change and absorb that growth.
Right. And it doesn't feel empty if you subtract something and then wait for the right thing to be added back in again.
Right. Or it doesn't feel like, oh, now you've really messed with an equation that only worked in this perfect way for that one photo.
Which isn't real life, but unfortunately is so many of the things we see online.
Exactly.
Are there any projects that you're particularly proud of or ones that stick out in your mind?
Oh, particularly, I love all my projects. I think, we have had some that have been for influencers and have really lived lives online. And I'm really proud of how those ones held up day to day, photo to photo.
I mean, it's beyond.
Thank you. Just as sort of like a backdrop for somebody's life and seeing, they were able to evolve in those spaces. And also, I think the more historical properties I've gotten to work on right now, we're working on an 18th century house in Long Island. And I'm just so proud of what we've done there because I think we've really maintained the sort of bones of the house. We've not fought against 18th century proportions. We're always trying to work with it and also honor the tastes of our clients, which, nobody wants to live in a Williamsburg replica of what this house has been. So I'm really proud when we can navigate that, bringing those two things together, current tastes and a historical home. I love to do that.
You do that so well because you have such a reverence and you read so much about design history and know so much about design history and you absorb it because you love it and it really shows in your work and you are so good at creating spaces that are totally bespoke to the owner and really are about them and their interests in their lives that they've lived, and also at the same time they have like insane longevity, like you're saying about this house, that a historical property, because you have that background knowledge, you can weave all of that in without it feeling or looking like some type of a period home.
Thank you. Yeah, I never wanted to look like a period home. I always wanted to be a place where you could have a fun party also. So I think I'm always trying to keep that in mind is, these are not stage sets for people's lives. They're really where you're supposed to live and build your community and enjoy yourself. And so I think that's always what I'm trying to target with those projects is that we can keep all of those things happening at the same time.
Is there a favorite element about the design process for you?
I really, really love the beginning stages and the end stages, as I'm sure all designers do. I love when we have the time at the start of a project for research, whether it's historical research or researching, what this client loves, getting to know their taste and also getting feedback from them. Sometimes I'll drop design books off at a client's house or something and ask them for feedback.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, if I think that they would be attracted to certain historical, maybe it's like a book from the 80s or something. If I think they'd be attracted to that, or even a current designer that they might not know about, I just want them to tell me their favorite pages and like what they love about that, and getting that download and then taking that and doing the furniture plans and the shopping and the elevations. That's the best part.
Because that's when you get to be freely creative and
yeah, and you get to dream up this life for them, right?
Totally.
So I'd say that's probably my favorite part. And then it's like a tie with the install, because the install, you get to see that all come to life. And it's certainly stressful to watch it all come to life. But the final, like once you get that final felt pad on that final dining chair, it feels really good.
It never ceases to amaze me how when you do an install, it's like, oh my God, we dreamed this up. We've been talking about it for a year and a half or, however long you've been working on this project. And then it's like all the pieces just like start arriving off the truck. And it's so cool that it's just something that like comes out of our own imaginations. And then people really live in these homes and kids make their memories in them, which to me is like the coolest thing about what we do.
Totally. And I just always find myself like envisioning Christmas morning or, the first big cocktail party they have there. And it's a special job we get to do.
I know.
It makes all the like dealing with the logistics worth it when you see that install.
100%. Is there a design rule that you always follow or one that you think is made to be broken?
I don't know if this is a design rule, but I think like we were talking about earlier, a lot of design recently, especially like with Instagram or whatever, feels like it's staged for a photo.
Yeah.
And it's really important to me that a room actually feels good. Even if we know that's not going to be the best for it from a photographic standpoint. We know we're not going to get the long hero shot with something central for your eye to pick up, whatever.
And stylists always move that furniture anyway. It's like...
Yeah, exactly.
What you see in a picture, I mean, people listening probably know this, but like what you see in a picture is 50% of the time the room doesn't look like that.
Correct. I also have I don't know that they're design rules, but I have rules in my head about, I want a room to have enough seats for a whole party. If I know how many people are coming to your house for Christmas, I want to have enough seats for those people. I want to have a place for those people to put their drinks. And so I really feel like I'm more focused on how it's going to be lived in than how it's going to be shot.
Yep. I think that's the way to do it, though, because then the people that because it's not about, obviously the end photos are important from the firm perspective, but besides that, it's really about, is this family enjoying the space and is it everything that they had hoped for with their dream house,
Right. Completely.
Oh, I like this question. What is a common mistake that homeowners make when they're thinking about timeless design?
I think that there's this sort of inclination to mix up timelessness with having no personality.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that. You're the perfect person to ask this question to.
I feel like we've sort of entered this phase of the internet where it's like a race to the bottom with personality. Like how void,
it's like everything has to be ivory.
Right. And how void can we make this space of implications that a human lived here and that somehow will be timeless, which I just totally disagree with. I think that we're going to look back at photos from this time period and say like, oh yeah, like vanilla bean, 2020s, I don't know.
I know. My friend who is not a designer, she's a clinical nutritionist in LA, but she has a great Substack and she wrote just personality in general and how she feels like we're kind of all losing our eccentricities, and she wrote about the house in Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, when you watch that movie, like the McAllister house is so cozy and it holds up so well, even though like you wouldn't do those exact things today, but like that's what makes it timeless, is that it has a personality and it's layered and cozy and has a point of view, and not that it's like this perfect, pristine white box.
Right. That looks like nobody lives there. Yeah. I just think that people are going to regret that sort of washing out all your personality. And to me, when I look back at old design books, especially the ones that are like compilation design books from Architectural Digest or something like that, the ones that stand out are the ones where the homes that stand out are the ones where you can see exactly who that person was and whether or not they had a sense of humor.
Totally.
And then you're more drawn to that owner than you are to the owners of the spaces where it looks like they sort of said, oh yeah, we love Donkia, so we're gonna mimic that, but we're gonna take out anything that he would have done that would have been sculptural and interesting and just keep it like bare bones. You know what I mean?
Like all mid-century lines and cream.
And nothing. Nothing of interest.
Literally nothing.
That's what I think is getting misconstrued with timelessness, personally.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think the best advice for designing interiors you have ever received is, and from who?
So this is sort of niche, I guess, but my grandmother used to always say every room needs a little bit of red.
Ooh.
And I think that sort of ties back to our conversation about personality. I don't take it literally to mean red, although sometimes I do use red. I take it more to mean every room needs a little bit of drama, a little bit of flair. And when you try to make a room 100% serene or make an entire house entirely only blue and green or something like that, you really lose something.
An extra layer. Yep.
Yeah, and you make it almost impossible to live there through different seasons of life in terms of like people will need to add something to a space over time. And so people are going to go through phases where they love this and hate that and, you know, whatever. We all are subject to that. And so I think
I'm in that phase in my own house right now.
yeah, I mean, I think we all go through it where you start looking around and saying, okay, I think I want to update this. I want to update that, even if you do this for a living, right?
No, I made my husband move 50 pieces of furniture around over winter break. He's me. But I'm like in that phase where I just need to change everything. And
so
designers go through it, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, I think when I was first starting in this industry, I thought she was wrong about that. And I thought, oh no, like you can really make a room sort of perfect for a photo. And she's wrong. You don't need that like flare. You don't need that red. And then of course, you know, the longer I did it, the more I realized she was 100% right. You can't fight your elders.
I love that so much. And I love it, especially because I feel like she is really the reason and connection of how you even became a designer in the first place. And so much of what she taught you is sort of what helped you become who you are as a designer, which is so beautiful.
Oh, totally. I totally thought everything she said when I first started too. I mean,
of course, like, as one does, but
it was like this season of lucite furniture and all of the sort of bad chinoiserie ripoffs, and she was like, "Oh, this is junk. This is all terrible. You are going to come back to brown furniture, you know, mahogany antiques from England." And I was like, "Never." Of course, she was 100% right.
It's so true. I mean, how do you think that factors into what you think your home says about you?
Her homes were so personal. So I definitely think that I learned a lot from her about that. She and my grandfather were people who would sort of constantly tailor and edit their environments. Like, this is such a funny example, but I think it's a good one because it's not just about your living room. My grandparents had somebody who helped with their garden, and my grandfather realized that the rake that they had was too tall for him, and he literally went out and cut it down for him and gave it back to him, like a tailored rake for him. I think about it all the time because it's not just your living room, you know, or your clothes. If somebody is really into their environment and really into things being tailored to work properly for everyone in their lives, that's how they always operate.
Oh my God, Liz, that's such a metaphor for how you work. It really is.
Thank you.
It is.
I didn't even think of that. That's so sweet of you.
No, it is, because you do everything so custom and so specific to the client. It's so true.
It's really how I think about how they're going to live in the space. And
yeah,
my grandparents were big hosts. They entertained all the time. And so their homes were also built to accommodate that. And so I think about that a lot too, in terms of, even if a client's like, we don't really host that much. I'm always like, once you've spent this much money on your interiors, I hope you do. And often they'll call me and say, you were right. We've actually hosted so many times.
Oh, I love that.
If you make it a not so heavy lift to have people over, you'll have people over. And it's just about being intentional about how you're going to live in your space and what you really want your life to look like, and whether or not you want to be having your friends over. And so anyway, I would say that definitely they influenced how I design now in a million ways.
And I just like the thought of how what you're doing for clients is setting them up to create community. You know, that's really what you're doing, is like you're creating a space that's tailored just for them to enable them to bring their friends and family and create community, which is like, what more of a beautiful thing can you do for someone?
Thank you. At first it was totally subconscious. And I'd be like, why doesn't this person want to host dinner parties? And then now it's like, as it's becoming so much more apparent that if you let yourself, this is all of us, we will just live on our screens and scroll in our beds. So now I'm like, you know what, this actually does serve a bit of a greater purpose, which is,
it does.
I've got to get you to get your people in your space. We've got to hang out.
I mean, speaking of, what are some of your favorite places to shop for home?
So I really love going up to, northwestern Connecticut and New York, that New York area where that border is.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite antique shops are up there. I'm not going to maybe share all of their names.
I know what you're thinking of. And I'm
not the ones I'm thinking of. And if anyone's paying attention on Instagram, they do too. But yeah, so I love a day of antiquing up there. But no, and then we also have some sources in England that we use a lot. It's becoming increasingly difficult to pitch that because the prices have gotten so insane to import stuff. But
also, things are just getting stuck. I ordered ice cream bowls the other day from Bridgewater, and they're just like stuck. I can't get them. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And so that's like, I love the rattan that you can get from Tangier, but it's just such a gamble. Like, who knows what it's going to cost by the time it gets here. So I'm hoping that that's not forever, but those are really, we have sources all over. I've been really lucky to be able to travel throughout my career. So I have places all over that I like to source from.
You do travel a lot, I feel like.
I do, yeah. And I do source when I'm in those places. But yeah, right now it's a little trickier. So right now I'm going to say northwestern Connecticut.
The kid phase, I know. The kid phase is it's just impossible. You can't. It's way too hard.
Yeah.
This is where I was going with my next question, which is, where do you find inspiration? But yes, travel is such a huge source of inspiration. But when you have little kids and it's really hard to do that, like even these day trips, places that are local, you can find so much inspiration in that too.
Totally. I think if you can visit a historic home, or like any kind of home you can tour, that is really helpful for me to just bring you back to reality. It's very difficult to compare a real live space with a 2D image that you're looking at.
That is so true.
And to say, how will I ever get it to be as perfect as this? You won't. You're not looking at the actual space. And if you can go and visit, the houses in Newport, or any house, if you get to be in London, if you can go to the Stone Museum, any house museum, I think, is so helpful for inspiration, because it just brings you back to earth, that it's just a chair.
So cute. Because we live in this like hyper fake world of everything is so styled, and they're all produced. They're productions, those images. They're not how people actually live in them at all.
Right. And it's on a screen. So it's sort of innately.
Yeah. It's diluting the connection with the space. Right.
And it's innately more framed for your eye than actually being in a space and saying, oh, this is the goal. Okay. This is attainable.
I love going to a house museum and just getting lost for the day. It's so
Me too.
Peaceful, honestly.
Me too. My favorite thing to do.
Well, Shop My is the sponsor for the season, so we wanted to talk a little bit about your Shop My storefront, which I love. And Field Notes has so many great Shop My links in it. So everybody listening should definitely subscribe to Lilse's Substack, because I love it. I just bought one of those pillows that you wrote about.
I swear by them.
I bought this pillow that's like 4 side sleepers that Lil's wrote about, and I can't wait for it to arrive. I hate my pillow currently, and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, we never had the perfect pillow recommendation. We were always kind of like, okay, we like this vendor, pick which fill you want, but I never felt 100% on it. So this I feel a lot better about.
No, this was so cool. It was like you can put your height, your age, all these things about you, and then they like make you a custom pillow for you.
Totally.
It's so genius.
Very exciting.
The things you get excited about when you're 35.
Exactly.
besides the custom pillow, which we love, is there anything currently on your wish list or in your seasonal rotation in your storefront that you're jazzed about?
You know, it's so funny. I'm like relatively new to Shop My, and I joke with my office, I'm like the world's worst influencer because all I write about is things I genuinely love and like already own.
Yeah,
so I'm not even
good because it's authentic. Like if someone wrote about something that they didn't actually like try, I would never buy it. You know, people smell the authenticity.
I think so too, but I also, you know, it's so funny. Like when you ask about my Shop My storefront, I'm like, oh, I don't even think of it like that. It's just like links through my newsletter. So anyway, I am definitely excited about that pillow. I'm being totally authentic with what I'm recommending across the board. But I think the things I get most excited about are if we link like an antique that's on Cherish or on Etsy, something that somebody can buy and sort of instantly add some charm or, you know, some symbolic meaning to their own house with. And those are not the things that sell the most. You know, the things that sell the most are like the things you can add to cart on Amazon.
Yeah.
My team is telling me. Again, I'm the world's worst influencer.
No, also those bigger things are less likely to move quickly because they're bigger purchases, but when people do purchase them, they're in their home forever, and like you had a small hand in getting it there, which is so cool, even when it's not a client, you know?
Right. So to answer your question, I like the things that I like to shop for, which is like the antiques and stuff.
Yeah.
And clothes, you know, it's fun to put clothes on there. I'm sort of dabbling in that. But I will say anything that I buy from Addersea, I consistently reach for.
The silk gala pants are so beautiful.
That's like my wish list is just like, if you just pull up their website, I'm sure that's my wish list right now.
Their stuff is stunning and it fits so nicely and drapes so nicely. Going back to sort of the theme of what drives you, like their clothes they have like a very handmade feel to them.
Yes. And they're easy, like they're structured so you can tailor them. You can take it to your tailor and get it done so nicely.
Yeah, totally.
That's probably my wish list.
Well, now we're going to do our Take 10, which we do at the end of every episode. So what is your favorite food?
Blue crab.
Ooh, I did not expect that from you.
I'm from Maryland. I spent summers on the Eastern Shore. Anything made with blue crab, if it's made properly and not a bunch of mayonnaise and bread, is my favorite food.
I love that. Favorite drink?
I'm really right now into a hot toddy.
I have to tell you, I had one at the Mayflower when Ben and I went in November just for like a night, just to like get away. And I had one sitting by the fire and we were making s'mores and I was like, this is life. Like I was so good. They're so cozy.
So good. And I'm just a whiskey person, like a bourbon person. So
favorite film?
Okay, so this is kind of a tie between Thomas Crown Affair and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Ooh, good ones. I like those. Favorite hotel?
I have to say Marbella Club.
Oh, I really want to go there. I saw Louise Rowe was there and was saying how awesome it was. It looks so beautiful.
It's 10 out of 10. It's amazing. Yeah.
It looks awesome. Favorite city?
I'm sort of tied between Paris and London right now.
Especially for sourcing. I mean, there's like nothing better than that. Favorite bedding?
I really like Matouk's Percale.
It's so crisp and lovely.
I love that. Like a really freshly made bed.
Yeah, there's nothing better. Getting in bed with like very crisp sheets at like 8:30 and dimming the lights is like my idea of luxury. Totally.
And like if you have the perfect room for deporto, then that works too. But just in general, just a white sheet with a tiny embroidered edge. Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, talk about that answers our question about timeless before.
Yeah.
Tea or coffee, and how do you take it?
I love a latte with skim milk.
Favorite playlist or music to listen to?
Okay, I am such a dork that I listen to Pandora.
You and my mom. I love that.
And I can't switch. I don't know why that feels like a heavy lift to me to switch, but
she feels like the algorithm is better than Spotify. She has said that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that it's not, and I just like am lazy and stuck with it. But Sometimes I listen to French music if I'm doing something where I can't have like words in my ears, I'll listen to like instrumental French music and just try to like, put a little happy spin on writing emails or whatever. And sometimes I listen to like Nathaniel Rateliff. So I don't know. I don't have one playlist.
Yeah, I know. I feel like you can't really have one. Favorite weekend activity?
So probably antiquing or hosting, but like actually attainable every single weekend is taking my kids out somewhere that we all enjoy, like to a restaurant we all enjoy or a coffee shop that has donuts or whatever, somewhere where we can just sort of like get out and be together in a place that's bringing everyone joy simultaneously.
Those are the things that make the weekend so much nicer, and they remember it. Like they'll remember like the random donut place like 6 months later,
Yes, totally. And it's much more special to me than hanging out in a gym while they play basketball. But I'm trying really hard to be better about that.
I know. My girls don't play sports, so like we don't have soccer on the weekends or anything, and a lot of their friends do, but like they don't like it. And I'm like, oh my God, our weekend would be filled with like
different
just sports if they played sport.
It's different.
Yeah, it is. I know. It's like it takes over the whole weekend. It's crazy. Okay, this is our hardest question, which I ask everyone, and I'm always like so excited to hear people's answers. And we actually have created a library of them in our Shop My Storefront from like past guest answers. But what is your favorite design book?
Okay, I have 2 answers to this.
Very excited to hear it because I know you're a total book nerd like me.
I am, and I will say this is going to sound like I'm just sucking up to my former boss, but Markham first.
No, Markham's books are insanely amazing.
Especially his first book. He really gets into the weeds about how he thinks about decorating, and it is so well written and just a beautiful book.
It really is.
So I would say that one, and this is a little more niche, but Michael Smith has a book called, I think it's called Kitchens and Baths.
Ooh.
And it's specifically about the kitchens and baths that he designed. And I just find myself returning to that one again and again. And it's a very practical book if you're designing kitchens and baths or designing your own kitchen or bath.
Yeah.
And so I would say, if you're doing your own design work, that is a good one to have in addition to, all of Gil's books. But that one, I feel like people don't know as much about.
Yeah, I don't know that one. And I have a bunch of Michael's books. I'm going to go get it. Well, this is so fun. I really want to talk for 2 more hours.
I know, me too. We're going to have to get lunch.
I know. We do have to get lunch. We have to get it on the books. A final few words we always want to ask. What are you working on right now? Are there any new projects you can talk about?
Let's see. We're still working on the 18th century house I mentioned in Long Island, and we're about to start a young family's house here in Connecticut.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. This one will be really good. The couple's super cute. And then we have a couple that we're slated to start in the spring. I don't want to talk about them too much because I'm always just like, what if construction gets delayed or whatever?
You don't want to jinx it. I get it.
Right? But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're keeping our roster pretty small.
I love that you do that too. I know you've talked about that before, that like you intentionally, and it's because the level of detail that you provide and how bespoke you are, but I love that. We're small too, and you keep like an imprint in that way in some way, and it stays personal when you're small.
Yes, yeah, exactly, because you have the bandwidth to actually focus on the details of that person's house.
Yes.
Once you flood the office, it's much harder to keep all of those tiny details, keep getting them right.
This question we ask everyone at the end: what advice do you have for someone looking to define their own interior style?
Just buy what you love. It's like buy a lot of what you love, though. If you find that you're repeatedly, into the same tramp art frames and boxes, just buy a bunch of them. If you have it en masse in your house, that's even more beautiful. I think what people get hung up on is, I love this thing, but I don't want my house to be too much like this. Just please be too much.
I love that. It's so
lean into it.
Who you are, exactly. And like lean into the things that you like, and don't be like embarrassed about them, or be like, oh well, this is too XYZ and it should look a little bit more like what I see in X magazine.
And buy it even if it's chipped. That's okay. I think we've all become so used to everything being so perfect, and if there's one little flaw, send it back. And that's just not how the world works or how houses work. And if you're constantly prioritizing perfection, you'll never do anything with your house.
Totally. And also, then you're not appreciating the patina. That we had a client once say to us, we found this gorgeous, like, stripped baby blue, hand painted 18th century kind of like larder cabinet, and they were like, the doors are wonky. I was like, it's old.
Listen, there is
wonky.
One of the things we always try to figure out early is what is this new client's patina tolerance?
Yeah.
And that's what we call it here. It's a real thing. And some people really have it, and their houses are so family friendly, and they're so down for a chip here and there, and they end up filling their houses a lot faster than somebody who has no patina tolerance and needs everything to be exactly so.
And then it's like, you can't breathe in those houses because everything is exactly so.
No. You're terrified that something's going to chip or get a ring or whatever. So I would say buy whatever you like as often as you like, and buy it even if it's chipped.
Amen. I agree with you. Lilse, this was such a delight. I love hanging with you. This was so much fun. Where can listeners find more about you and your brand?
So I'm at Lilse McKenna on Instagram, and my website is lilsemckenna.com. And my Substack newsletter you can sign up for on our website, or you can sign up for on Substack. It's called Field Notes by me.
So fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. I hope I get to see you soon.
Me too. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again to my guests today for joining me, and to ShopMy for sponsoring this season of Talk Shop. Head to the show notes to create your free shopper account and explore the curated storefronts from this season's designers. We'll be back next week with more thoughtful discussions and amazing guests. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube so you never miss an episode. And of course, follow me at Ariel Okin. See you next week.